Welcome to Creepypasta. Please like, share and subscribe. This will help us make more content for you. Thank you.
I was suddenly much taller than normal. This happened a few days ago. My husband and I were at home, neither of us were intoxicated, etc., just a normal evening. For reference, I'm 5 feet 8 inches, and my husband is 5 feet 7 inches. We've been together for years and know very well what the other looks like head on. I had gone to the kitchen to make a sandwich, and something felt off. I wasn't sure what, until my husband asked if I was taller than usual. I was flat-footed and barefoot, but realized my viewpoint was as if I was on my tiptoes. I could see the top of the fridge, and my hips were above the kitchen counter. I turned to face my husband, and he seemed much shorter to me than usual. Our eyes are usually pretty close to even, but they seemed much lower than mine. He says he felt like his height didn't change at all, just mine. Understandably, we were both freaked out, and were wandering around our apartment trying to figure out what was going on. Suddenly, everything felt right again, and I returned to the kitchen. I could no longer see the top of the fridge, and the counter was back even with my hips. My husband returned, and both of us looked right again to the other. It was like once we couldn't see each other anymore, it fixed itself. I've heard of Alice in Wonderland syndrome before, but for it to happen where someone else can see it, seems impossible. Has anyone else experienced anything like this, or have any ideas?
Comments. Dude, same thing happened to me. I was in the hospital one time, and the nurses told me, stand up, for some reason, and I felt like I was towering. They even commented by saying, whoa, you're tall, huh? And asked how tall I was. I said, well, I think I'm 5 feet 10 inches, and they laughed, and said, no sweetie, you're prob 6 feet 4 inches or 6 feet 5 inches, and I did honestly feel that tall for that moment. I eventually laid down again, and got up, and was back to my normal height.
Something similar happened to me. I used to visit my parents every few months and usually it was all the same. But last time I went, everything seemed slightly lower than usual. Light switches, kitchen counter, everything. I felt like I had grown 2 inches. Nobody else said anything though, but I thought it was strange. Never gave it much thought before now.
My friend seems to have just disappeared from the face of the earth. And I don't mean went missing, just disappeared, with nobody recalling her ever existing. So, 2 years ago I went on vacation to Spain. It was a package tour for teens. I befriended a guy and a girl there, who were a few rooms away from me in the hotel. Since we were over 18, we were allowed to hang out alone outside of the hotel, and so, we practically spent the whole trip just walking around town and drinking together. I clearly remember adding the girl, let's name her X, on Facebook, and talking to her on Messenger, since that's how the three of us were planning our days. I even started a group conversation with X and that boy, let's name him Y. Fast forward to today, it was her birthday, so I wanted to wish her happy birthday on Messenger, and she just wasn't in my contacts. I thought, maybe she unfriended me because of my copious amount of shitposts. But looking her up on Facebook didn't bring up anything. I decided to ask Y whether he'd heard from her recently, and he said he never met that girl. I looked through all the people me and X both added on Facebook during our trip, and even asked some of them about her. Nobody seems to recall meeting X. Y claims we were hanging out with another girl, who I do know, and spoke to on the trip, but never hung out with. I don't know what to make of it, and I'm kind of freaking out. I'm thinking maybe my mental health is much worse than I thought, but honestly, there's a huge difference between mild seasonal depression and hallucinating a person for 2 weeks straight. Edit. Thank you for the advice regarding downloading my Facebook activity. With the help of a friend, who's much better with technology-related stuff, I did it. And we've been digging through both my Facebook history and Messenger, unfortunately to no avail. Edit 2. I also looked into my country's missing persons cases database, since it's public and she's not there. Edit 3. I contacted my psychiatrist, and as much as he considers the whole thing weird, he is convinced it isn't enough to diagnose me with schizophrenia. In fact, he claims I definitely don't have schizophrenia. I also emailed the company that organized that trip, but didn't get any feedback on whether my friend was in their documents yet.
Comments. Did you guys take any photos together at all? I could maybe see that she deleted all social media etc., but it's weird nobody else remembers. Are there any messages in that group chat still? Did you ever have individual message conversations with her? If you did, you should still have them, but she would show up as Facebook user with a blank profile. Have a look.
The thing is, we had both the group chat and an individual convo, and I've searched through my messenger, and they're just not there. It's honestly as if she never existed. We also had a bigger group chat, with people I met on the trip. There were like 15 people there, including her. But now that I look through that chat, she's not there, however the convo still exists. I had her on Instagram, she even commented on some of my posts there, and now the comments and her account are gone. We haven't taken any pics together unfortunately, we only photographed the landscapes. The weirdest thing is I spoke to my mom and she does remember her mom, who came to pick her up and told her she's glad X made friends with me, and she, X, says I was the most interesting person on the trip and other stuff mothers talk about in the context of their children. So I don't know what to make of it. Did I share the same hallucination as my mom? Is the multiverse theory true and we just somehow transferred to a plane of reality where she and her mom never existed? Is my mental health really, really bad? I've no idea. I'm really freaked out right now. Like, I had weird things happen to me, but my friend disappearing without a trace is just a whole nother level of weird.
Seems like a classic Mandela effect moment. As out there as it sounds, I can't completely rule out the idea of alternate dimensions. Maybe you and your mother somehow slipped out of the old universe and into this one. I know it's not the same as a whole person disappearing, but objects in my parents' home went missing for a good few years, only to turn up on the floor in the middle of the room a few months apart from each other. There is a lot we don't understand about our place in the universe, or maybe multiverse. The important thing is to not assume you are crazy. You aren't alone in these weird circumstances. Take comfort in the other stories in this sub, as odd and unexplainable as they often are.
My husband and myself have completely forgotten someone. So, a year or so back, I had a friend request of someone on Facebook, and so did my husband. I had no idea who she was. Didn't recognize her photo, etc. My husband was the same. As she had lots of mutual friends, including my father-in-law, I accepted it. Here's the weird thing. She apparently went to church, youth club and most church events with both of us. She is the same age as us. Went to school with my husband and his sister. Everyone else knows her. Except us. I drudged through her Facebook looking for photos of her as a teen. No recognition at all. I literally have no memory of her. Same as my husband. But she vividly remembers us. Recounting stories about things we used to do together, etc. I remember the things we did. But not her. Here's where it gets stranger. I found an old address book. With her name, phone number and address in it, from that time. And she has photos of us all together. She is literally our glitch in the Matrix. Any thoughts? Comments. I can't offer a solution, but I can add the same sort of thing has happened to me. There's a woman I just seem to have wiped completely from my late teens/early 20s memory. She was, apparently, part of our small friends group that hung out together every weekend for years, but I have absolutely zero memory of her 15 years later. And again, she knows me, can relate tales of that time I was around. Our mutual friends all remember us both hanging out, but I have zero memory of her. Worse still, I've even seen the photographic proof, and not only do I not recognize her in the pictures, I don't recognize myself either. Seriously, I had to ask why I was being shown these pictures, only to have me pointed out to myself. No brain injury or any major trauma during that period of my life, but I just don't know this woman at all, nor can I recognize myself from that time period either. Whatever glitch it is, I slipped right through that crack entirely.
I've had this happen too. I went to a theater group when I was younger and was in a class with about 7 other kids, so not huge. I left when I was 16. I was in town a few years later and ran into 2 people from the group and a friend of theirs. We exchanged pleasantries and I said it was nice to meet the friend, to which they went quiet and she said, I went to theater group for 4 years, we were in multiple performances together. I went home and looked through old photos and she's standing next to me in loads. But I have absolutely no memory of her at all. We were a close-knit group and I have a good memory, so I found it very peculiar. Do you have a creepy story? Please share it with us in the comments, and we will post it on the channel. Please subscribe. Thank you.